Hello, my name is Scott Daniel, and I proudly serve as the Executive Artistic Director for Mountain Theater Company and the Director for our production of The Burt Park Boys. Well, as the Executive Artistic Director, it is my responsibility to spearhead the selection of shows each season. This show was selected for our 2024 season initially, but I've had it on my radar for this space since I moved to Highlands in 2021. I knew it was the perfect show for this community. It's bluegrass-rooted music, it's fantastic, authentic storytelling, has a sense of whimsy to it, and our community can see themselves reflected in this show. We have an opportunity to have students from across the 7 counties come in to see and experience this show, and along with the families of our community to really see themselves reflected is really powerful. And so it was always part of the plan. It was about finding the right season for it to kind of fit into. And last season was a season of escape, about running away from things and running to things. And so it fit kind of perfectly as an anchor of that particular season. But with the storm canceling that production, it was automatically, in my mind, moved to our 2025 season because I knew it was a show that we needed to produce and our community needed to see. And so it kind of, again, once became the anchor of our 2025 season. And not only is it a story about escape and a journey, but it is very much rooted in harmony and family and brotherhood. And this entire 2025 season has been a season of harmony. And so it fit beautifully within the season, especially the 2025 season. Our 2023 season featured Rock of Ages. We had the fantastic opportunity in that production to work with Alex, who stars in this show as our dear Pete. And working with him in that show, I knew immediately that this was the right opportunity for him. So we started navigating the show around him instantly. I fell in love with this show, 10 years ago now, when I saw it at the incredible Free Fall Theater Company down in St. Pete. That show happened to have Katie Berger, who plays Frances in our production, in that particular production. Knowing that she could still play the role a decade later, she came straight to mind as we went through the casting process. And then it was just finding kind of the rest of the team to put together. After a cast is selected, it goes over to our company manager, Emanuel Carrero, who handles all of contracting, negotiations, then arrangements of their travel, along with their incredible housing while they're here. He really is the pulse of the organization to ensure that everything continues to happen and flow evenly.
Hello, my name is Emanuel Carrero, and I'm the company manager for Mountain Theater Company. So as company manager, I take care of any administrative needs for the company. That includes paying all of our invoices and bills. When the cast is here, I handle contracting for all cast and crew. I search for housing at the beginning of the year and throughout the year as well. I handle all leases for any of the houses that we actually rent from people. We have about 4 houses that we have relationships with and have had for the past 4 years. And they're wonderful. We love having them, and they love having the actors in their houses as well as the crew. So after our casting trip in New York, I kind of handle contracting for everyone that joins us. Anyone who's not a staff member, between 80 and 100 artists that we have every year. I handle all contracting for them, any negotiations that need to take place with agents or managers and representatives. I handle all of that and make sure that it's all set for when the actor gets here. Most of our people come from out of state, so I search for housing every year, and all of our housing needs are based off our equity rules. Everyone gets their own room. No one has more than 4 housemates. We also have to make sure that they're able to get around and have transportation while they are here on contract with us, whether that's either renting rental cars for the company, but a lot of the actors and technicians that we use also choose to drive to us. We cover the cost of their travel coming here and going back home. So it's a lot of logistics starting from the moment that they get their contract. So it is finding housing for them, finding transportation, whether that's a flight, or making sure they are reimbursed for their gas and their time, making sure that any hotels that need to be booked for their travel here is done. I book shuttles to get the cast here from the airport. I spend a lot of money as the company manager. In housing alone, my budget is about $180,000. and that is still covering the small cast that we have this year. That is about 10 houses that we acquire a year. That's just in housing alone. That doesn't go for any flights or shuttles or cast experiences. We love to make sure, when they're here on contract, that they also have a good time, that they're not only here to perform, but to see and share in the beauty that is Highlands and its surrounding areas. So for this show specifically, I was handling any communication with the cast and crew, doing rehearsal reports, daily calls, performance reports, so that everyone is able to have the same information at the same time. Just the logistics of the day-to-day, starting from the first day of rehearsal all the way to the end of the contract. I also help with a lot of the props, getting the props made or finished, painted. I assist with load in and load out of all the sets. And then for this one specifically, I'm also working front of house and making sure that is all taken care of with Aaron. Of course, we are getting our volunteers together and making sure the patron has a wonderful experience from the moment they step into the door. What I love about my job is getting to meet so many people that love what I love doing. But when I'm not a company manager, I also get to perform and do that side of it. So that's been a really cool thing to do, to kind of do both. But I want to make sure that everyone who works for us and works here at Mountain Theater Company feels welcome, taken care of, and cared for in every aspect, starting from their travel, our emails and negotiations, all the way to when they leave us at the end of the contract.
Once we're fortunate enough to have the actors here in Highlands on campus with us, we start with a meet and greet and a luncheon with our sponsors, along with our board, so that way everyone gets to meet the family almost immediately. And then we do our first bit of paperwork and get all of the I's dotted and the T's crossed, and then dives directly into the vocal process. Our incredible resident vocal director, Nielsen, Lindsay. She's been with us since our first Jersey Boys. She's an incredible, not only on-stage talent, but vocal director who is local to Brevard, and so it's nice to have someone just down the road from us sharing an audience with that incredible community also.
I am Nielsen, Lindsay. I'm the vocal director for the Burnt Part Boys. I believe I have done 13 shows now with Mountain Theater Company, starting with their premiere production of Jersey Boys, and then Sentimental Journey, Home for the Holidays for the first time, then Jersey Boys again, Rocky Horror, Home for the Holidays again, then Grease, Catch Me If You Can, Home for the Holidays again, then Marvelous Wonderettes, Forever Plaid, and finally The Burnt Part Boys, which is actually going to be seen by lucky audiences. Usually I take the score and I listen to a commercial soundtrack, if there is one out there, just to sort of get it all in my ears and in my brain, and then I go through it pretty carefully. I don't always know the voices I'm going to have before I get here, but I have an idea of how I'm going to split things up and who's going to sing what, but then I usually need to adjust that when I actually hear voices I haven't worked with before. So I spend a lot of time just listening to it, playing it on the piano, looking for parts that are going to be tricky rhythmically, or which songs have the most people in them, because I like to start with those first if I can, so that everybody can have a chance to have something they can be working on. When it comes to teaching the music, the first day is always, it's a stressful moment, the first time we all hear each other sing. So I like to just do a warm-up first, just so everybody can kind of get it out of their system that, okay, now everybody's heard me. And then we split up by sections, and usually I'll play each part individually, give people an opportunity to get a recording of it. A lot of people want to record everything and then they have something they can practice with. And then we'll piece it together. We'll maybe take the two highest parts and then we'll add another part to it, and then eventually we'll all get it and maybe go back and fix some things, talk about rhythms, talk about cutoffs, make sure everybody's on the right notes. And then we'll all try it together. We'll turn on the track and we'll see what happens, and if it's a train wreck, we go back and fix it. I'm searching for a blend, and some shows that's more important than others. I think in this show it's extremely important that we all are going for the same kind of placement in the voice and the same vowels, because there's a very distinctive style to a lot of the music in this show. It's called a bluegrass-inspired score. I don't really think it's a bluegrass score per se, but it does have elements of that woven throughout, and so I like a pretty straight tone and a pretty forward tone so that the harmonies can really lock in, and it's supposed to sound like ordinary working class mountain people. It's not supposed to sound like a choir or an opera, and it's not even really supposed to sound like a traditional Broadway. It's got a very distinct kind of a sound to it. So I'm listening for blend, I'm listening for cutoffs, dynamics, tone, fixing vowels so we match. Especially the music the minors sing has really tight harmonies, and they don't necessarily go with traditional chords you would be hearing if you were in a choir or a more traditional Broadway show. So they need to really be tones that can be heard and that can lock in and blend. There are a lot of things about this show that I think are not traditional Broadway features. It's more stylistic, it's got more of a mountain feel, more of a folksy Americana kind of a feel. Although there are moments when we really are sort of acting like a choir. It's a mountain choir, if you will. It's a more Appalachian sounding. It's just got a feel to it that's more earthy, more gritty, more grounded. It's all about the story, and the music is so important to the story that it needs to get the right feel and weave in and out. The minors just weave in and out through the story, and they pop up, and all of a sudden there's a little vignette where there's a critical piece that just needs to have the right feel to it. I think that this is one of the most beautiful scores I've taught. The harmonies they're breathtaking. And I hope the audience will just be moved by them. There is so much emotion in this score, and the harmonies, especially on that finale number when, for the first time, all cast members are on stage together and all singing together, and that hasn't happened yet in the whole show. I hope that they're moved to tears, because I was the first time I heard it, and I'm sure it will get me every time. I just love doing this. I love being around people who are so full of dreams and plans, and it's just a great energy to feed off of. I love just being in the room, coming from day one where everybody's just confused and they're taping everything and they're got their pencils out and they're writing everything down, and they just get this look on their face like, oh no, this is just never gonna happen. And then by the time we open, it's gorgeous. And I just love seeing that happen. I love watching the singers gel as a group. I love when they kind of know who they're listening for and who they're locking in with and who else is on their part. The difference between day one and opening is this beautiful process that takes this raw material that doesn't look like much on the page and then turning it into this gorgeous production.
Once they have learned all of the music, they join us in the room. Typically, we get the opportunity to stage the show directly on our set. So the set is constructed while the cast is in vocal rehearsal, and then they're really familiar with the music, which helps telling the story, getting into the emotion, and knowing where it is the safest to be standing, where it makes the most sense to be standing, where to come in, where to exit, all of those sorts of things to make the story the most impactful. And so we start staging the show. I like to go in order. Every director is different. So this show starts really on page one, and we built the world around it. It started out in the house, which is a fun way to approach the show, which was not originally how I thought I would stage the show. When the show was originally scheduled for the 2024 season, it all fit within the proscenium, the frame around the stage. Nothing went beyond the apron, which is that very edge of the stage. And that was all designed because the rest of the season, Grease and Catch Me If You Can, were also all designed within that framework. So it felt like you were watching television, or watching a live-action version of these films that we were quite familiar with. And then this show also was in that frame, but in a different way. I was inspired aesthetically through those kind of really popular 1960s comic books, the Archie and the Jughead and the Sabrina the Teenage Witch and all of those sorts of things that really bold, graphic color, those simple shapes that are just slightly askew to give them the uniqueness. And you'll see those inspirations in the set, in the lighting design, and especially in the costume design, because that reference was really part of the conversation with all of the design team initially in 2024, but that also translated over into our 2025 season. The change was that I made that comic book come even further out into the audience this second time around. So it starts on page 1, and we are instantly brought into the space even as we enter, before the downbeat of the first piece of music. Between myself and the sound designer, Bo, and our lighting designer, Mike Wood, we have created the West Virginia Appalachian town of Pickaway immediately. The tone of the room with lighting feels like you're among the trees of the valley, and you smell the honeysuckle, and you hear the sounds and the buzz of the wildlife around you. And we are transported instantly to 1952 Pickaway, West Virginia. Then the downbeat happens, and we tell the rest of that story, and we really let it guide from there. I have a good understanding of what pieces I want to use in each scene, where I want those scenes to happen within the overall space, so that way we don't get a crick in our neck always looking to the right, or everything's dead center. That feels a little inauthentic. And so it kind of has a very organic flow as to where entrances and exits happen. And this show specifically has a lot of crossover between our characters, where they are on stage at the same time, but miles apart from each other. One on the rapids of a river, and one on a tightrope as a bridge that is blown up 50 miles above it. Other times we're traveling through different sections of the same kind of spooky woods, as all of our characters are on stage in what I call the Act 2 ballet that is Family Tree. It's a fantastic piece, and it incorporates everyone on stage at the same time. But every single one of those actors are sharing a different space in the reality of the play. So it's all about the organic nature of putting those pieces together and figuring out what the best ebbs and flows of this overall storytelling are, to again help better set up a palette for the other designers. And once we are in the room putting the show together, we've got all the actors, we've got all the designers, we've got all of the creative team together in one place. The person that keeps us going from that point on is our stage manager, and that is Kevin Commander. And he has not only done that, but also done an incredible job at kind of taking the lead on putting this puzzle of a set back together and keeping us really day to day in line and making sure that everything's where it needs to be in and out of the show. And if you stick around in the house for a little bit during the intermission, you get to see him do his magic for the audience as he resets the stage for Act 2.
Hi, I'm Kevin Commander, and I am the stage manager and was on the scenic carpentry team for the Burnt Part Boys. Previously, I stage managed Forever Plaid earlier this summer. So as stage manager, you act as the buffer between the cast and the designers and the director. Most of all the information kind of runs through you so that you can communicate through all the parties. You're taking notes during meetings and making sure that they get sent out. But most importantly, if an actor feels unsafe or unsure of what's going on, you're usually the first person that they go to ask a question. So if an actor's missing a prop, or if an actor notices that there's not a light and they can't see backstage, they'll be the first person to let you know. And then either you will go and solve their problem, or you will go to someone who can. Once we started on stage with rehearsals, flopping between being a stage manager and working on scenic things, actually they kind of coincide very well, because as the stage manager, you are noticing things that are either safety concerns or things that just aren't finished. And normally you would go to your technical director or somebody after in a production meeting and be like, hey, we need to get this done. But luckily it was on me to get it done, so I would just make a list as we went out through the day. And then after rehearsals, I would stay after for a couple hours and just kind of knock things off my list, going in and securing things and making sure things were safe for actors and safe for the next day of rehearsal. So as stage manager, I get in, and usually what I like to do is sweep the stage, and then I'll go through and I'll do a prop preset. So I start from stage right usually and work my way around, and then I'll work on our on-stage scenery and set pieces. By that time, actors are coming through the door, so I'm making sure actors are getting into microphone. I give them their call that we have mic check. And then after mic check, I'll check in with the tech team, make sure everyone's needs are met, and then we will start from top of show or top of our rehearsal day. The things that I've enjoyed about this process is just working with so many talented people. I think this team in particular, they're very close-knit together and everyone just enjoys each other's company. Everyone just seems to be on the same page all the time, which is really awesome. And everyone's just super grateful to be here and super grateful that the show is going on. So it makes it just a truly wonderful experience, and I can't get the songs out of my head.
Yeah, as a director, each process I think is different depending on the show. I had known that this show was a great show for this community. I had seen the show performed at a professional theater before. I had listened to the soundtrack. It's one of my favorites. I had read the script, of course. And then when it was time to select the show, it's about going into the script and reading the script again and dissecting that script and dissecting those characters and how those character stories are told, and if those character stories are the right story to tell in that season for this community at this time. It is about diving in and understanding the characters, and so once the characters are known and what their needs are, it's about how best to give them a space to tell that story. So that gets into the scenic design element, which I was the scenic designer for this particular show, and then worked with Jeff Weber and Weber Scenic, who constructed the show and painted the beautiful artwork and scenic work that you see in the production. And then again, working more storytelling in with the lighting and the sound design. You walk into this space and you hear what Pickaway would sound like as you walked into the scene that is set for you at top of show. And throughout the journey of our cast, you hear an evolution of sound as sound gets more familiar and more relatable as we are closer to the beginning of the play and closer to home. And then the sounds become foreign and ominous and disturbing and as we get closer and closer to the burnt part. So there's storytelling in the lighting, there's storytelling in the sound, and then I find fantastic and opportunities and ways to more storytelling. This show, because it is a unit set and we have 4 boxes on stage and 4 ladders on stage and 5 chairs on stage, it is up to the imagination of the audience to believe what the actor and what the character believes when they are on stage. And so a way to further the experience and create more tactile and sensory positive experiences, we have included a scent process that also goes through the show. So another technical element and another storytelling opportunity is as you walk into the theater, you have the scent of honeysuckle and jasmine, which gives you a nice fresh springy kind of entrance and makes you feel warm and comforted as you enter the space. As you get closer and closer with our travelers to the burnt part, you start to smell the burn and singe of wood and ash. You get closer and closer and you smell the decay and the charcoal of the burnt part. And then at the end of the play, the entire space is cleansed with a crisp, almost linen and fresh rain scent to cleanse your palate as you walk out. And all of that is designed to help tell the story and give you a memory in the space with us, but then also give you a memory of this space as you go away. Hopefully the next time you smell honeysuckle, you think of Mountain Theater Company and our production of the Burnt Part Boys. So it's all about how best to tell the story, selecting the right cast to tell that story, creating a safe space for them to tell that story, working with your design team so you can collaborate. That's the best part of this entire business, is collaborating with incredible artists. And then from there, getting that story onto paper and then onto the stage and out into the world, and hoping you can get every single part that is inside your brain onto the actor, into the musician, so they can help tell the story. And then you get to collaborate and work with them because they're going to have ideas that help you tell that story. And each actor brings something unique and special, especially these incredible actors in the show. They bring new opportunities and new skill sets that take the initial idea or direction of the show or of the character someplace even more magical. And I think that's what makes this particular production, this particular cast, and this particular show so very special. Something unique about our organization, and I think it roots in my love for technical theater and my experience in it as a designer, as a creative, as a show writer, as a wig designer. I like to be involved in the process for as long as possible. I like to see kind of the sausage get made or the artwork get made from that side. And so I try to create that space here at Mountain Theater Company for our creatives and our designers. And so we bring in our lighting designer, our costume designer, our sound designer into the space very early. They watch me create the show and I speak with them as we develop these moments, so that way the imaginations of each of the actors is very vivid and very active, and they can see what the finished product is going to be. And that helps me better articulate the emotion or the motivation behind the movement, because they know the world is being created around them. It's not just a blank space. It's not just standing in a spotlight with a mic in your hand or glued tape to your face. The reason to cross and the world around you is being developed to best suit the audience and their imagination and their ability to come along on that ride with you. And so it's nice to have the designers in the space very early on. The lighting designer and their team tend to start almost immediately. We'll stage through something. We'll confirm that, yes, we're not really going to adjust this much, maybe left or right, up or down, but this is the skeleton to work from. And then they can start building on that skeleton. So as soon as we transition over into the tech process, which is only about 4 or 5 days before the full meat of the show is up, costumes, lighting, sound, every actor is where they're supposed to be all the time, all the cues are happening and activating, and we're just shy of being ready for an audience, which is the last element to add to the big pie for it to be complete. It gives us a head start in that technical process of putting it all together. And so I, as the director and artistic director, which I am involved in the technical process of any show that is produced here to make sure that it fits well within the vision and the aesthetic that we have set here at Mountain Theater Company. And it's one of my favorite parts of the process, is because I get to see how these designers create their world, what palettes they start to work from. I learn their little tools and their tricks, and they get to learn from me and I get to learn from them, and that collaborative effort helps build the community as a whole, which is very nice, I think, for all of us. From there, we just really start kind of layering all of these pieces together, and with the head start of the lighting and the head start of the sound being in the room, I get to sit back and see my piece of art and their piece of art align almost immediately. And it's very easy to see the final vision, which comes in only a few days. We have this little saying around here that we don't do secret theater. Everyone's really aware of what's going on, and I think that is what makes us successful in the final product of what people see, and why I think people really enjoy spending their time here and they're using their crafts and their artistry here in our space. The best part of this show is the cast. It's a beautiful set, and the lighting is absolutely incredible, and the sound is stellar, and the band is unbelievable. All of it is 10 out of 10, but the cast really is something special, and we create magic here in these mountains, and we've been lucky to kind of capture that magic in a bottle through some very special shows, and I think this is another one. I think these 9 voices on stage blend in a very special way, and it is the 5 children. We call them children, although they are not. They are all played by adult actors. The strongest moments are when everyone is on stage. My favorite moments to play in and favorite moments to direct were with the 5 young kids when they're all together, because those 5 actors who played those children are incredible. And we were lucky enough to have all of them that were with us for the initial launch of this production in 2024 be able to return for us in 2025. And that made this process special, because we had a closer relationship, even more harmony amongst ourselves, knowing each other now for almost a year, and sharing a group chat and a thread between each other, and jokes and relationships and bonds and tears. And that helped build a really special and safe space as we created this show. And so they felt as though they could experiment and release and cry and emote and laugh and truly become raw in the space and create the show and the story that we now get to see as an audience every night. Add that with the expertise and talent of the 4 incredible men who play the fathers and the minors within the show and help really guide and tell that story. So then you take those incredible people and you add an incredible musician on top of that on stage with them, with Bo, and you have created kind of a synergistic, kismet, perfect, harmonious little show, which is what I think we have here that is rarely produced across the nation, especially professionally. We're one of the lucky theaters that get the opportunity to produce this show. Our audience is one of the lucky audiences that we get to experience this little show. And we did what we do here at Mountain Theater Company, which is take a little show and kind of make it a little bigger and make it more spectacular and more beautiful, and that is what people are, I think, walking away with, is it is not our traditional feathers and sequin and more specifically Swarovski crystals, which I do love so much. As I work with Beck and my other incredible design team, this show is raw and organic and natural and warm, and through all of that has every bit of detail and every bit of nuance and meticulous nature as you do when you're Swarovski crystalling a plaid jacket. This has every single bit of detail, every single bit of storytelling, from property to costume to shoe to hat to choice to light to set piece. And that's just what's special about this show, about our opportunity to perform this show, to produce this show, for our community to see this show, and more importantly, to share this show every single day. What I really want people to take away from this show, and truthfully every show that I do, no matter where it is, but specifically here at Mountain Theater Company, I want people to live together and share the magic that is live musical theater. There is a pulse that happens through the music as we all sit and we share that experience together. We can hear and feel the rhythm and feel our hearts start to beat and align together. As we watch actors perform, we can sense their breath and we start to breathe with them, and collectively a room of 200 plus people are all breathing together and beating together in a single rhythm, on top of sharing an experience of watching someone's life unfold directly in front of you. You're in the room as it happens. And it's not your story, but you can connect because it is actively happening around you. And that is the magic of theater. It's different from a movie. You can pause a movie and step away and reheat your Taco Bell or burrito or whatever it is you might be eating. I just gave you an insight into what I'm having watching a movie. But you can pause those moments. You can step away to use the restroom and come back to that story. But live theater, you don't have that opportunity. You have to be present. And this show, this beautiful little show, happens all in 90 minutes. And it is a single day in the life of these brilliantly and deeply evolved characters, experiencing something that we all experience in our time on this planet, which is loss. They also get to experience the love of their family and their siblings and their friends and the people that they choose to have around them. And I hope everyone, not just our audience, but everyone gets the opportunity to experience that in their life. And that's what I want people to walk away with. I want them to walk away with a memory, whether it's through the scent or through the sound or through the action or through the beautiful storytelling you're seeing on stage. Something that brings you joy, because that's what we're doing every time we produce a show here. It is to make the magic here in the mountains and bring joy, not just to the people who get to experience our shows, but to our community as a whole and the community of theater as a whole, truly. I just want to make people happy.